Hello everyone of YouTube. Hope you're having a good day or night or wherever you are, whatever you're doing. It's all good. I thought it would be fun to do a Fender Strat versus an Epiphone Les Paul kind of video today. I haven't seen loads and loads of videos on the comparison, but I thought I would do one just for fun, and because these kind of fit within the same price bracket. Looking at Sweetwater in the US, the Strat is about $849, give or take, and this slash edition of the Epiphone Les Paul is about knocking on the door of about $1,000, and in the UK they're both about 500, 600 pounds. So they're not cheap guitars, but they're the sort of thing that you might go for maybe if you're an intermediate player looking for something of an upgrade if you've been playing for a little while, or maybe even if you're a pro maybe, and you just don't want to spend thousands and thousands. So I thought I'd have a look at these because I got them both over the years, and I enjoy playing them both. But there's always the Strat versus Les Paul debate going on, and which one should you get, why should I get it, etc, etc. They're quite different feeling beasts to play. But I mean, these days, let's be honest and cut any BS, whatever kind of sounds you want to get out of a guitar, with all the EQing and sound effects, etc., that you can buy these days, Bias FX or whatever it is, anything by, is it Nuix, all these different kind of effects, you can pretty much get your guitar, whatever it is, to sound like whatever you want it to. So, it's all a matter of preference and feel, and maybe tweaks to the sound that you want to get exactly out of pickups, etc. But yeah, so I thought I'd have a look at these because I'm not like a Strat Les Paul versus kind of person really. I enjoy playing them both depending on what my mood is like. The Les Paul I bought pretty recently within the last couple of months. It's what is it now? It's nearly August in 2022. The Strat I've had for probably 3 or 4 years now. I think it's a 2017 model, the Strat. But things haven't changed all that much over the years since. So yeah, we can get into it really. So let's maybe have a look at the Strat. I mean, the Strat is the 25.5-inch scale length. This one actually has 21 frets. I'm pretty sure that these days they have 22. If that makes a big difference to you, it doesn't make a big difference to me, so that's not the sort of playing I do on a Strat. And the Les Paul has a 24.75-inch scale. Now that really ultimately means that the Les Paul is going to have a slinkier feel no matter what strings you put on it. So for string bending, etc., if that's your bag, the Les Paul is probably going to be easier, for sure. In terms of the tuners, the hardware, they're pretty much of the same kind of quality. If anything, I'd probably give the edge in stability probably slightly to the Fender, because it's I've always found that stays in tune very, very well. I never, ever, ever really need to tweak that. I can leave it for months at a time and really barely touch those tuners. It really is so stable. Even if I use the whammy from time to time, if I go crazy on the whammy, it's going to go out of tune. But that will take a long time, a long time. It's really good quality hardware on the Strat. I really like it. On the Les Paul, the tuners, they're those kind of vintage style Clusen tuners on the Epiphone. They're fine. They actually do the job. I've been using this for a couple of months now, it must be, and they hold tune pretty well as well. They're fine. I find myself maybe tweaking those a little bit more than I do the Strat, but it's not like I'm playing during a session and I've got to change anything. They're actually pretty decent. Now the body shape itself, in terms of playing it and sort of either sitting or standing, I have to say the Strat is probably more comfortable. It's just got the natural body contours and everything to it. It's got the body cut, the belly cut, sorry, which is nice, which feels very comfortable to hold. The Les Paul does not have any of that. It's just a block basically. So if that's something that bothers you, something to take into account. Now, what really surprised me with these two guitars was the weight. I've also got a Squire Affinity, which is pretty light. The Squire Affinity I've got is about 2.6 kilograms. But this Strat actually tips the scales at nearly 3.7 kilograms. Now, that surprised me because to me that feels kind of heavy-ish for a Strat. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. It's still comfortable, you can still stand up for a very long time with it, but you know, to me, I thought, you know, that's starting to sort of go into sort of slightly maybe heavier territory. And the Les Paul that I've got here is 3.8 kilograms, so really there isn't much in it at all. So standing up with either is pretty much a similar kind of experience. So, you know, if that's something that bothers you. Now, what I would say is, in the UK, it's not something you see that often, a website or a dealer showing how much a specific guitar weighs. That's a real big bugbear of mine, and really does kind of annoy me. I wish they would. But if you're lucky enough to live in the US, I've seen that Sweetwater will very often actually put the weight of the specific guitar that you want to order, so you know exactly how much it's going to weigh when you get it. And I've seen these definitely these Les Pauls, they can vary in weight significantly. So you know, you may need to have a look around to make sure you get one which isn't too backbreaking for you, if that's what bothers you. So onto the neck a bit more. The neck shape and the nut width, to me that's something that has been, for a little while, was quite a big deal in terms of feel of the guitar on either. The Strat is actually what got me back into playing a few years ago, and I absolutely love it to pieces. I do find the neck a bit thin though these days. Really, I've got relatively big hands. I'm quite a tall guy, and you know, with relatively decent sized hands, and so I really find myself gravitating towards something that's a bit chunkier, which is the Les Paul. So the Fender nut width here is 42 millimeters, and the Les Paul is 43 millimeters. Now you might think to yourself, well, how can 1 millimeter make very much of a difference? I'll tell you what, it really does. It really feels very different, and it feels much chunkier this than the Strat. So again, something to consider. And the actual depth of the neck as well, sort of that front to back, if you like. So what I mean is that sort of this width, this from here to here. That also makes a big difference in terms of sort of cupping into your hand. Again, if that makes a big difference to you. The Strat is a really skinny neck. I've looked around because I haven't got calipers yet, but I might invest in some at some point. But judging from my other guitars, looking around online extensively and doing a lot of research, this neck is give or take around about 21-ish millimeters, sort of all the way up and down, maybe widening a bit towards the neck, maybe up to about 20, 21, 22, if you're lucky perhaps. But that is pretty thin to me. It's very thin feeling. The Les Paul is fatter. Again, from looking online, you can probably see already like how much deeper that is. That's probably more in the region, I think of about 23, 24 millimeters. Again, from all the research online and the sort of the feel of it, I think it widens out. I don't know if it goes exactly to an inch or not, i.e. sort of an inch is about 25 millimeters, give or take. But it certainly feels pretty chunky. It is not as chunky as the 50s 50s Les Pauls, this particular guitar, but it is a pretty chunky feeling neck in comparison to the Strat. And then I suppose the main thing that would be the bone of contention is, I suppose, the sound. As I said, you know, these days you can get whatever guitar you want to sound almost however you want. But in terms of sound, you know, just stock, if you don't mess around with anything and you just plug it straight into an amp, this does sound understandably beefier. Clearly, it's got the humbuckers, it's got the 3 stock positions, treble, both, and rhythm. So you're going to get more out of, you're going to get more sort of volume and punch from these, and obviously no hum. Whereas obviously on the Strat, you're going to get single coils and you're going to get more of that kind of hum sound, depending. Although I think on one of these positions there is a noise cancelling. I think it might be on position 4, and I think these cancel each other out. Although don't quote me on that, but I think that's true. I certainly I don't find this to be a very noisy guitar, even though it's single coils. So it sounds really good. I think what really makes the difference actually is when you sit down, and why I do have both, is it's how it inspires you to play. This certainly inspires me to play more kind of rock, and I really want to sort of thrash this around and really get into it. This one is a much more kind of overall, again, without any extra effects or anything, has a much more kind of glassy tone to it, which you would expect, and inspires you to play more kind of, I'd say, smoother, softer styles of guitar, maybe even a bit more jazzier, soft, I don't want to say soft rock, etc. But yeah, it's a softer, nicer, more kind of almost refined feeling to that guitar than there is to this. This feels like it wants to rock out hard and really, sort of punch through an amp when you've got it plugged in. So, as I say, those are the main differences. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or what have you about either of these guitars, or any of the guitars you might have seen in my other videos. There's going to be plenty more coming. I appreciate this one's been most of me talking. I've got various videos of me playing these guitars, and I'm going to keep uploading, so you'll be able to hear these in action on my channel. So yeah, if you like all this, please do like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, see you in the next one.